Hey guys, welcome back to the second video. This second video is going to talk about, we're going to go ahead and do an API. We did an introduction, talked about the things that we're going to learn. We're going to go ahead and get started. So first and foremost, make sure you have Visual Studio Code going. Make sure that you have a directory, a new directory, whatever the case is, and we'll just get started. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to use Terminal. So I'm going to go ahead and click Terminal. And that's that little thing down here. I'm going to hit Clear. You could use this whether you're using a PC or Mac. First and foremost is we're going to set up our environment. But before you do that, maybe do an npm-v, and that'll tell you what version of npm you have. So that is important. Or even npm, I think it's -node as well. Maybe that changed. Okay, so it's 8.7. So the least it tells you whether you, okay, it's v. That's right. So it's npm-v for version, and npm. Oh, maybe that's. Oh, it was -node. That's fine. That's all we need is the version. Is there another one? npm. Nope, that's it. So yeah, that's fine. So at least you have it installed. That's a way to verify that you have it installed. So let's clear it. So we're gonna. If you do a PWD, which is present working directory, shows you where you're at. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to do npm init, which is initialization, space, -- yes. What this will do is create some packages for me. If you look here, we have this package JSON. It just creates a package called the name, API, the version, description, so you can modify that. We're saying that our main file that we're going to use with the node is index.js. You could call it something else. You could call it main. You could call it whatever. You could call it Jeffrey. You could call it Bob, whatever. But that's just a template. Scripts, no scripts, and this is just basic information here. Okay, so I'm going to clear my screen. Then I'm going to do npm install express -- save. So what express is the ability for allow us to run this as a host, so like a local host. Okay, so now it adds, if you go here, add the lock, it adds some node modules. So add a bunch of node modules. These are modules that we can use if we like. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to install nodemon. We'll talk about what that is later. So we'll do install nodemon. We'll install other packages later as we get used to adding some stuff. But for now, that's all we need. So we have our basic environment built. So I'm going to click like this, and I'm going to click index.js for now. Now, as we get into this, we'll break this out a little bit more. This is just an introduction. When we actually start writing some real APIs, we'll break it down to different files. We'll follow the MVC format, so the model view controller, we'll have a controller page, we'll have model folders and so forth. But for now, we're just going to try to keep it as simple as possible. Okay, so we're going to use TypeScript. So we have to describe. This kind of goes back to. This kind of goes away from the traditional JavaScript. Traditional JavaScript, you don't have to specify like libraries and so forth, where if you're programming in C# or Java, you have to. So in TypeScript, you kind of have to as well. So we're going to say constant, and we're going to call it express, and we're going to say equals require, and we're going to say express. So that's one of the packages that we have. Express package, that's one of the things that we just installed. We're also going to call this app. You could call it anything. I'm going to say equals express. So equals what we just put in here. Now we have to define that we're going to use it. We're going to say we're going to use the app, and we're going to say use, and we're going to say express.json. So one of the things I didn't talk about what JSON is. JSON is a Java script object file, so it's a way to read a file. So as we mentioned in SOAP messages, they use XML. Within RESTful, we use JSON. People call it JSON, whatever. I don't really know what the real name is. I call it JSON. It said JSON, but anyhow, it's plain text. so it's a little bit easier to read. So what we're going to do here is we're going to build an array. So we're going to say constant, and I'm going to say movies, and you have to do open close brackets and then a squiggly mark for like that, not that one. Not that one either. There we go. Alright, so just like an array, and let's add this right here to close it. And so we just need to put something in the middle of it. So we'll say, for example, we'll say ID. We'll give it ID 1. We'll say movie. And within the movie, we'll call it American Pie. And then we'll come down, let's see here, what are we missing? Okay, so we need to have a bracket like that and add comma. Yep. And then we need to do the same thing here. Do another bracket and then put the same thing in here. So we could probably, I'm not sure why we're getting all these funny characters. So there's probably something doing wrong. We'll find out in a second here. So anyways, we'll do copy. And we'll do number 2, and we'll say a different movie, and we'll say M number 4. We'll follow the same format here. I'll figure out what's going on in a second here. So let's copy this, paste it, and we'll exit. Let's see, why is that doing that, by the way? Did I forget to add something? So let's see what I did wrong. Constant express equals require express. That is good. App express, app.use express.json. That is good. Constant movies. Oh, geez. Equals. That might help. See how the littlest thing helps. All right. So ID. So what we're doing here is we're kind of building an array, which is almost like a database. American Pie. So we're doing the squiggly marks. Those are like beginning and end statements. So I'm number 4. Okay, and then third movie we'll say Warrior. And we'll add one more, as you see here, and we'll change this value number 3. These are just movies that I've been in. Well, at least 2 of them. Not American Pie. That would have been cool. Alright, so let's see. And number 4, we can say, what can we say? New one is, alright, we'll call it Hangover. Alright, cool. So we have 4 movies representation here, or open close. So we didn't like something here, because I have to have a comma here probably. There we go. And you know why? Because we could do it this way. So we could add that right there and end it there. So we have our express. We do our declaration. We say that we're going to use this app. So this right here is just array for movies database. So we're just building an array to store this so that we could call it. So we specify an ID, like we had a database, the movie, so we gave it 4 different movies, and then we closed it. Now, next what we have to do is do a configuration. So we have to configure the port. So we'll say constant port equals process.env for environment dot port, and then we'll do port number. So you do 2 pipes. And then we give it a port number. So I'm just going to start off at 6001. You could give it any 4 digits. Usually they start from 3000. The only reason I didn't do 3000 because I have something running on this computer at 3000. Then we're going to do app.listen. And we'll say, give me the port number, comma, open close. And if you've never seen this guy right here, that's called the callback feature, callback function. So we're going to say, right down at the bottom, console.log, and we're going to say listening to, port, and then we'll put the $, and this will specify port variable in there for us. And then we'll put a tick at the end there, and then we'll close it. Okay, so that will tell us the port number that we're working on. So that when we run this program, it'll allow us to identify that port. I may have hard coded that. So let's see here. Because I don't know if that'll work, but we'll figure out in a second. I'm not worried about it, because it might not like that for some reason. So next thing that we have to do is, so we program a couple things. So we program a configuration, we program the database. Now, one of the things that we talked about within Git, we talked about the 4 terms: get, put, post, and delete. So now in this case, we're going to talk about specifying those. Those are called routes. So a route is something that it's something that we'll learn later on. Right now, we're kind of doing it a different way. So like right now, we're just kind of putting it all on one page, but later on, when we really build an API, we'll have a route that'll be like the higher level, and then below that level, we'll have our controller. And so think about that interface that we talked about yesterday. We talked about interface to database, and interface to application. So think of the API as the same way. Each thing, so the index is the main page. And so then you have your routes, which are interfacing with the controller, and the controller is interfacing with the database configuration, and the database configuration is interfacing with the model, and so forth, and it goes down the line. So they all have their own job or relationship. But in the scenario of this, we're just keeping it simple for now. So we're going to set up our get all movies. So we'll say app.get, so this will be our route. And we'll say, we have to specify, so I call my directory API. I'm going to say API, and I'll say movies. And I should have, so it's API right there. So new comma, and then I have to send a request. Remember we talked about requests? And we have to provide a response. And then we'll do a callback feature here. And then we'll do this. And then what we have to do is we have to provide the response. So we could say response.send, and then we could put in variable, what's the name of the thing? We call it movies. So that's our variable at the top up here. So that's our array, movies. So we're specifying that information there. Down here we're specifying, hey, when that gets called, that is what our response is going to be. Now, there's no rhyme or reason behind it. There's no analytics. There's no conditional. There's no statements. Later on, we'll learn all about that stuff. So now what we need to do is I'm going to save this. You should be able to put autosave on. I think I have autosave on. I would check into autosave if you don't have it. Yeah, choose autosave. It's so much easier. So that way you don't mess up. So now what we need to do is run this, and we need to talk about how to run it. So in order to run anything in Node.js, you have to type in node, and then type in the name of the file, which is index.js, and hit enter. Now you'll say listing on port, so it didn't pick up the port number, so I'm not really too concerned about that. But we just know that sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. So what we're going to do here is pull over a new window. Got my DuckDuckGo going. If you've never used DuckDuckGo, I recommend it. It is pretty awesome. All right, so I'm going to do localhost, and then I'm going to do port. I think we did 60,001. Okay, so now when I do port 6001, you see right off the bat it says, "Oh, I can't get that. It didn't work. Something went wrong," but that's fine. I think we have to specify the full route. Okay, so we called it, what did we call it? So think about it, we called it, our route is API movies, so we have to specify that. So let me put HTTP. So we specify the route, API, and movies. And there we go. So now if you look at it, and if I make it smaller, it provides my ID 1, 2, 3, 4. We put movie, and we put the name of the movie, item number 4, American Pie, and so forth. Now, later on, what we'll do is we'll talk about how to do a couple things. We'll talk about how we can send a parameter. So when sending a parameter, we could say, hey, we need a parameter and we want to look up this movie, which say American Pie. It provides the information back. So maybe we'll have more additional information in here. Or like when we make that callback, then we're going to not only send, we're going to send everything. Maybe here the movie, when was the movie, how long was the film, all that stuff. So we'll be able to send all that information back. But like now, like I said, we're just going to take it simple. I don't want this to be too complicated. I want it to be something that you can learn easily. So let me show you another thing. So I'm going to pull up, I think I have it on here, Postman. So it's coming up. Now I can run this locally because, wow, that was big. As you can see, I have about 27 windows opened up from my last project. So, yeah. We'll talk about collections later, how we can create our own collection of data, which a collection is a set of APIs that you have that are consistent across the board. But I'm just going to create new HTTP request. And so that's what you'll do is just create a new request. In this case right here, I'll grab this URL right here. You have to specify whether it's a GET, a POST. We'll learn about when we get really involved with this. We'll learn about headers that we have to put in here, different body information, all that fun stuff. But for now, we're just going to paste this in here. And I'm going to hit send. And what it's going to do is at the bottom, it's going to provide us that same data that we had here in Postman. So you see, it's providing us the same stuff. When you go to use this for the first time, just specify at the bottom that use JSON. Else it'll come over in a different format, and that's the format that we want it to be in. That's how it's being delivered. So we talked about SOAP messages. If we were doing SOAP, it would be delivered in XML. We're using RESTful, so it's going to be delivered in JSON. And this is the format that we want it to look like. So this is what I want to see when you guys are presenting your video of what you worked on. This is what I want to see. Now, I don't want you guys to do movies. I want you guys to do something else. I don't care what it is, but it can't be the same thing I did, okay? So this is just a start. I mean, this is good. So we showed how to, do it from that angle. So what we're going to do next is, before we do that, so I want to show you something else. We're going to go into the next commands and stuff like that, all that fun stuff. But one of the things that you'll learn about, anytime that we want to save stuff and make changes, we have to stop this. So if you hit Control-C on your keyboard, it stops the service. And then if we come out here and rerun it, it should not be running, see? So it's not running. So if you remember, we installed NodeMon, right? And you're probably asking yourself, what is that? You're probably not asking yourself that. That's fine. So this is what I'm going to show you a little trick here. So we're going to go to clear. And we're going to do, type in L as in Linda, S as in Sam, O as in Ostrich, and F as in Frank, space -I. What this does is it shows all the port numbers that are running. So yeah, there's a lot. So so if I do an LSO, let me clear this because there's a lot there. So if I do an LSOF space hyphen, we know that our port number was 6001. Because here's what will happen is if we start this right now, and I think it'll happen. Let's try to run this real quick. I could be wrong. All right, it's going to do it, but a lot of times what will happen is it'll say that port's being used. So so what we're going to do is LSO hyphen I, and then port 6001. All right, so that port is active. I think. Yeah, we just did that. Port number 6001. That's weird. So anyways, why did that not work? Huh, that's weird. Usually that term would pull up anything that we want to show, that we want to, maybe, yeah, that's the right port. Alright. No, that's the right one. It would allow you to see it, but you know what? Maybe, I don't know. We stopped it, so let's do this instead, since 6001's is working. Something's tricky. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. So what we're going to type in is nodemon index.js. Now what will happen is you to restart anytime. You could clear. You could do Control Z again, but this will be continuously running. And so, like, if I come out here and refresh this, my movies is here, and then, like, for example, let's say hypothetically I want to add another movie to this. Okay, so I could go, or let's say we want to change this. I'll put Hangover 2, right? It automatically saves it. And if I come here and refresh, Hangover 2, just like that. So it makes it a lot easier if you're running this. It saves the changes automatically. It's kind of like using Netlify. So you know how, like, you guys push your changes to Git, and then Netlify picks it up, builds it, and processes it. Boom, same thing. Okay. So I would start using Nomon if you want. It'll be a lot easier moving forward. So the next thing that we're going to learn is, besides what didn't work, not sure why that didn't work, but that's fine. We're going to learn about other commands. So in this case right here, we're going to learn about post commands. So we talked about, we talked about git commands. Now we're going to talk about post commands and what that entails. So it'll be a little bit different, excuse me. But it'll allow us to create a new message, create a new post. It'll allow us to create something new from scratch. So let's do this. Let's go down and do post. And so we'll do app.post, and then we'll do same route, API movies. And there we go, comma, everything's going. We'll do our request, our response, callback function. Perfect. And then we'll do constant my movie equals, you could call it anything. We'll capture ID, which is movies.length. So we're going to capture the length +1. Then we want to do movie. I think we call it movie. Yeah, movie. And then we want to do request.body.movie. So we want to grab all this information. The reason we're doing this in our post is so when we're posting to it, we want to grab the length of that ID, and then we want to be able to capture the name of that movie. All right. Whoops. There we go. And then we'll come down here, hit enter. And then what we'll do here is we'll take the name of, we call it movies here. So we'll say movies.push. And then we'll specify the constant, we call it my movie. So we'll do that. And then we need to do a send. So we need to do response, send, and then we'll do our my movie. So this will push that out. So what will happen is when we call this post and we do come over here, now we can't do it from here. So you can only use the web browser to do a get, but you can't use it to do a post. So in order to do a post, we have to come over here and we have to specify some information here. So we have this right here and it has it saved, but we have to specify it over in Postman to allow us to do it. Now later on we'll learn how to do this in we'll learn how to do this later on in in here, but for now. So we'll do here is we'll do posts. So what I'll do is I'll leave that get there. Because yep. Because we're going to want to call that back again in a second. So let's do post. In this case right here, we're going to choose body. We're going to choose raw. And you're going to choose JSON. And so what you're going to do is you're going to send the information back the way that we have it. So we're going to do open close brackets. And double quotes, you're going to specify an ID. Later on, we'll tell you about when we start working with databases, we'll talk about how we can make this happen automatically where we don't have to specify the ID, but we're using an array, so we have to. So we know that we have 4 values, so we'll make it number 5. And then we'll specify the name of the movie. And we will call it Rocky. We'll say it's Rocky 8. And that's it. So what we're doing here is, because we only have 2 values, we have ID. We're specifying an ID, and we're specifying a movie, which is Rocky 8. And so what we're going to do is we're going to click, we have the post, and we're going to click send to see if it works. All right, so there was some type of error message. What happened? I didn't like it. All right, what did we do wrong? Post API movies. That is right. What did I do wrong? Did I have to say movies? Maybe. No. ID, movie, Rocky. That is right. What did I do wrong? Did I comment? I comment. Movie. Huh, that's weird. I don't see what I did wrong. Cannot post API movies. Why can't you post API movies for? Cannot post API movies. It is running though. So let's see real quick. Maybe I had to add something else. Alright, so it looks like my code's not working. So let's see what I did wrong. So if I try to put Rocky in here, it says cannot post. So typically when something like this happens, you can usually come over here, and if there's an error message, I'll show you. So if you see here, it's tell me I have a response, something's missing. Sometimes these are just, hit or miss, if you can see them or not. Oops. So looking at the code, I've looked at this and looked at this, and what looks different is this. I don't have the /. So that would make sense why I could not find it. So if I do a / on here, I should have saved it. So let's see if we can post Rocky as our movie. Hit send. It says okay. Where's that? Okay. Body said it was okay, so it worked. So now let's do a get on it. API movies, hit send. And there's Rocky right there. So now if we come over here to the website and run it, Rocky's there. Now, here's the thing, just to let you guys know that is how you do a post message. But we did the post kind of on the fly. So what we didn't do is we did not add it in here. Well, this is just a function that allows you to add it. So since we're not dealing with a database and we're just dealing with a constant array, that array is not going to be modified. So what's not going to happen is this value is not going to appear here, because that's just a constant. This is just to show you the relevance of how it works. When we actually set up a database behind it, then that'll be a different story. It'll save to the database. So I just wanted to kind of provide that scenario, why you don't see that. Okay, so that's the reason you don't see it. All right, so moving on, since we've got that, the next one that we want to talk about is a put request. So put request, remember, is just like an update statement in a database. You're modifying something. Now it's going to be the same thing. We're going to modify something, but it's not really going to change the value at all, because we're dealing with a constant, remember. So it's just going to change it on the fly for now. Now, like I said, when we actually link up a database to this whole environment, it'll be a lot different, I promise. So when we do the put statement, we're going to have to add a parameter. And so that parameter is going to have to send something. Okay, so let's go down here. And so we did get post. We probably won't do delete, because delete is bad. So many bad things happen with delete. But anyways. All right, put statements. All right. So we'll do app.put. We'll do the right thing this way. API, movies. All right, so what we're going to do different here is we're going to do /: we're going to ID. So that means that we're going to send a parameter. We're going to send the value of the ID, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What we want to change. It's the unique ID that we're going to use. So it's like if you're updating a database, update table, set value equals something, where ID equals something. That's basically what's happening here. So we're going to do a request, a response, a callback feature. There we go. And we're going to do constant. We're going to say my movie equals movies, and then we're going to do a find, and we're going to just reference as a T, callback feature, T.id. Same thing if you're doing an update statement. You're updating, like if you have an inner join, you're updating the table and you specify tables A and other tables B. That's kind of what we're doing here. So we'll put equals parse. We need to parse the integer and request the parameters, because it's going to come over as a string. We need to parse it to integer, the ID. There we go. And then we're going to do a conditional statement. We're going to say if, oops, Control Z. I figured that. My movie, right there. Return response dot status 404 dot send, and then we'll say the movie with the ID was not found. So what we're specifying here is if we specify, we pass the parameter of say a 5 or 6 that doesn't exist, we want it to check to see, hey, does that exist? If it doesn't exist, then we throw up an error message. All right, so we'll say my movie, right there, dot movie equals request dot body dot movie, and then response dot send, and then we'll do a movie, my movie. There we go. And there we go. I don't know if you really have to do that, but we did. All right, so so now what we need to do is, we have that saved. We need to go and test it out in Postman. Forgot what I was looking at. So what we can do is, so let's create a new one. copy that right there. Create a new one. Place it there. Make sure it works real quick. All right, we got data, so we're gonna do a put. And so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna pass the value 1. So we know the value is American Pie. We're gonna go down to the body here and raw and JSON. And we're gonna do a, yep. And then we're gonna pass in what we're changing. We're sending in the 1 and say, hey, we're gonna update the 1 value, but we have to represent what we're changing. So we'll say movie, like that. And we'll give it a new movie name. So maybe go with, what movie can we go with? I just seen a good movie recently, so let's see what we could come up with. Oh my God. All right. The Wrath of Becky. All right. So, oops, I was playing it. So we'll go with The Wrath of Becky. We'll send that, and what we're looking to do is change that value right here from American Pie to Wrath of Becky. So we'll do a put request. All right, so it looks like it might have worked. So then we'll go back to get, and we'll do boom, and look at that. It changed the value. So that is how you do a put request. So we changed the value from 1. We said 1, and we changed the name of the movie. So we could have did another one. So for example, number 2 is item number 4. So we'll just make it stupid. We'll say, let's do number 2. And we'll say, we'll call it The Wine Man. Doesn't know if it exists or not. So we'll just change it. Looks like it went through. We'll come back over to our get response. And look at that. Number 2 is The Wine Man. So that is how you do a put request. And a put request is just a delete. Delete would be very similar to a put request. So, you know, we could try it if you want. We probably won't do deletes in our class because deletes are scary, but let's do it. For the HackerBot. So let's do this. We'll say delete. And it's very similar. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this code real quick. And just modify it as I need. So we'll, instead of putting in put, we'll do a delete. So we'll leave this all the same. I think that is all the same. Yep. We'll say if my movie return, response says 404, that's fine. Yeah, this is all the same. So a put request and a delete request, very similar, but they do different things. But in this case, we're just, you know, this is just an array, not real data. So I think that is it to be able to test it. Let me see if I have to do something else. I might have to do something else. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think I do need to do something else here. So we need to change some of this out, if I'm right. All right, so we need to build a constant, and we gotta grab the index, and with the index, we're gonna do movies, dot index of, and we need to grab my movie right here, and then we need to do movies, oops, right there, and then splice it. So if you don't remember what splice is, that you learn in Introduction to Programming, I would go and check it out. And we're going to grab the index value 1. Oops. And we're going to need to do response.send this back to my movie. Let's see, what else do we need to do? I think that is it to be able to send it. So you're going to send it very similar to the put request. So let's go back to put request. We're just going to choose delete, and we're going to try to delete number 2 for Yman. Hit send. Looks like it worked. So let's see. Let's go back to our get statement, and yep, it worked. So you look, number 2 doesn't exist. We just have 1, 3, and 4. So in a rough thing here, this is an example of an API. This is how we do the different routes: the delete route, the put route, the post route, and the get route. And this is our array. Now, like I said, this is just an introduction. The next week, we're going to get in and we're going to actually write an API. We're going to set up a database. We're going to do get responses. We're going to build it from scratch, the whole 9 yards. So it will get a little bit more complicated. And the concept is to, this week is you're writing code, you're just doing something similar to this, and this is what I'm looking for in your video. You can't use a movie. I want you to list at least 5 or 6 items in your list. I want you to go through the same thing. I want you to do a presentation of this whole process. So in your presentation, you're going to run through Postman. You're going to walk through everything I did and show me what you did. That is your work. You're going to check it into Git. You're going to have a different folder for this, for sure. So you want to exclude it from your website code. So API is fine. You can call it API something. Anyway, so you want to exclude it, and then next week we'll get into actually. This is a practice. We'll get into actually doing something. So, anyways, that'll be fun. So thanks for watching, guys, and talk soon.